more. Let's get going. Christian ponders that thought as he pulls the cap of a dark green evergreen bottle and pours into a glass mug of green beer. He takes a big mouthful and swallows it. He ponders for a moment and says, I miss my chums, especially Too Tall Levi Hunter. We were friends, good friends since grade school. We did everything together. With friends, sometimes it's a good story we like to share that makes the evening special, says Champ as if reliving his past days. Christian moves between the two and guides them both to the big lounge chair in the corner. With arms around their shoulders, he pulls them both down and sits between them. His eyes quickly touch Bailey's, who buries half of her face in her cup of venom and quickly stands up. What's wrong, love? Asks Christian with charming innocence. Oh, nothing, says Bailey with a transparent lie. I just need to stand up right now, that's all. Christian smiles at her with a half glow and then turns to Champ and says, Baby doll told me about how you knew how to read the waters. Is that true? No, that's not true. I can't read water. She must have gotten the wrong impression of what I told her back on the yacht about the painting I saw. It was called Wave Talk. Really? Wave Talk? Replies Christian with surprise as he again takes a quick look at Bailey and smiles with subtleness as he leans back in the lounge so to see both Champ and her. Yes, the Marquis of the Marshall Islands can read the water and determine where the islands are by the waves. That's what the picture was all about, explains Champ. You know, I used to have an old uncle named Brent Dean, who sailed over 8,000 miles without an engine and sails. They used to call him the Mad Sailor. Sounds like he would have to be mad to do that, says Champ, nodding with agreement. Quite. He began his trip in Peru in 2000 with only a few things from a partially covered boat. He took a portable water distiller, a radio, and 4 satellite communication systems and a solar power to power them all. 9 months later, he was successful and returned to Australia. During his trip, he reported he survived 10 shark attacks and a near miss with an oil tanker. But his last challenge happened on his last day. What was that? Asked Champ. The waves became rough and tipped over his rowboat, and he had to swim the final 100 yards to land. The press, TV, and his family were all there waiting for him. He was considered a hero, exclaims Christian with pride. You must be quite proud of him, says Bailey as she shifts her weight from one foot to the other. Christian is amused slightly by this as he turns his attention to a standing Bailey. You might like to sit down here next to me if your feet is getting tired. That's fine, Mr. Shark, quips Bailey quickly. Suit yourself. It's a bit of a long story. He states calmly. I'm fine. Go on with your story, replies Bailey undeterred. The story goes like this. I had this girlfriend that I'd met at a racetrack who invited me to travel with her to Tasmania to help them save the fairy penguins. Fairy penguins? Asked Bailey. You mean like little pixies? Christian smiles and shrugs his shoulders and says, I don't know why they called them fairies, love. Maybe they're all gay. Champ looks at Christian in disbelief and says, I don't think so. Otherwise, how would they reproduce? Christian smiles back and says, Natch. Besides, maybe it's because they have wings. Fairies have wings in America, don't they? I don't know. I would guess the kind the nursery rhymes do, or maybe just the kind that dress funny, says Champ as he digresses to juvenile humor. It's funny. It's funny you say that, Champ. You see, Uriah, my girlfriend at the time, loved animals of all sorts. When she and some of her college friends found out how the recent oil spills in the Arctic were affecting small animals and birds, she hooked up with a bunch of other volunteers to help save the animals. In this particular case, it was as if the fairy penguin, it was the fairy penguin. You see, the oil spill got over all their feathers, and when they would clean themselves by licking, they would make themselves sick and die. So do you know what they did to help the little buggers? I can't imagine, says Champ, expecting something other than the obvious. Are you ready for this? Asks Christians as if getting their full attention for the big punchline. They made over 1,000 sweaters for them and put them on those little devils and turned them loose in the wild. Bailey asked, sweaters? You mean like, yes, sweaters. The reason was to keep the little fairies from licking themselves. They could never get past the sweaters, I guess. Besides, I'm guessing the little fairies fancied that. He concludes with a smile. Christian turns to Champ and says with more levity, I saw some of those sweaters, and they were quite fetching, actually. Champ grin reflects uncertainty about how he should respond to such. Christian takes note of this, and with a little self-absorbed smudgery, grin continues. I remember another trip I took to the other island. Other island? Oh, yes, I forgot. You Yanks don't know the area. As I was saying, my good friend Levi Hunter and I were in England. We were at the reservoir in Leicestershire, where we both got sweet talk in accompanying our new girl friends on a family trip of bird watching. Imagine that, bird watching. You mean like bird watching? Asked Champ, surprised. Oh, yes. When I was much younger. Not just the same kind of birds the old people went to see. That's all. He says with a smile and a wink of his eye. Ah, birds, as in ladies. Yes, I understand, says Champ, again, almost embarrassed by his own virtue. Nevertheless, we found ourselves looking at this strange little bird that would fly close to the water and eventually land in the water to bathe itself. Suddenly it happened. Something completely unexpected. It was like a scene out of a movie called Jaws. This giant 4-foot pike jumped out of the water and gulped down the little bird in one bite. Little bird in one bite. What? The fish ate the bird? Asked Champ with disgust and surprise. Precisely, lad. 1 second, the bird was swimming and splashing without a care in the world, and then poof, he was gone. The only thing that was left of the bird was a few feathers floating in the water. That's terrible, says Champ. So what did you do? He scratches the back of his neck and says with guilt, We laughed. We laughed very loud. You laughed? Yes. Yeah, we laughed. We couldn't help ourselves. We laughed real hard. But, sad to say, we were the only ones. It would seem that our plans for romance seemed to end up getting swallowed up with the fish as well. Christian's lightheartedness changes to a heavy, hearty look on his face as he leans forward and warns, Just watch out for the Notlam little fish. They call them the Nesna. Best watch your step unless you want to get gulped down by them as well, lad. Thought you should know. I've heard stories. Champ and Bailey exchanged looks of concern regarding this unsolicited warning, as both wonders why he would bring this up now and what possible could be his reason or motive to do so. Suddenly the cabin lights come on and around the ceilings as Christian smiles and says cheerfully, "We've made it! We've made it here to Gentar Mentor." Chapter 19. We'll continue with that next week, and it will be starting on page 217. And here's what Gentar, Chapter 19. Thanks for watching, folks. Be sure you subscribe and stay with it. If you missed an episode, go back and catch the other ones. Thank you. And now, episode 24.